Kyle Delaney here, bringing you the latest edition of my video blog. It's Thursday. We're 2 days away from UFC 136 on Saturday, and all I can say is that this card has taken forever to get here. I mean, I've been pumped for this card ever since they started announcing all the fights in the summer, and we have 2 title fights. We have 1 top contender fight in the middleweight division. This is a completely stacked card. The fact that Showtime Pettis is fighting on the prelims, and Melvin Guillard isn't even fighting in one of the top 3 fights. It's going to be a great card. That being said, just very quickly, before I get into anything, I just wanted to thank the followers as always. Everybody's been reading my articles, commenting. Anybody who wants to just talk MMA on Twitter, everybody's been more than supportive. Everybody's been great. I really, really just enjoy talking to everybody. Everybody's different, has their own insight. Everybody's been more than supportive and been a lot of fun to talk to. So really, hats off to everybody, and thank you once again. Shout out to Couch Fight, everybody who's been working on the staff. Karen, Sabrina, Gary, Michael. Everybody's been doing a great job, and really just a shout out. I mean, without them, my voice wouldn't really be out there. So once again, thank you to them, and check out the site. New articles are coming out daily, so give them a look. So I'm just going to say thank you, everybody, once again, and I just want to hop right into it. I'm going to try and keep it short. I can't promise anything. But what I want to talk about, I want to talk about the 3 main fights, just very quickly, with my picks. I'm not going to get into the Nam Fan fight. I think Nam Fan's going to win. I think he's actually going to win this one by TKO. Probably say in the second round, Nam Fan's going to TKO. If not, it goes to decision. Nam Fan's looked better every fight that he's come out. He's been set back by some injuries, but he's going to come out. He's going to do an impressive job. Melvin Guillard versus Luzon. I'm going to take Melvin Guillard. It doesn't matter if he has some holes in his ground game. I like the fact that he's training in BJJ now. He's, I believe, a blue belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So once he starts developing a little bit more of a ground game, he's going to be a very, very difficult fighter to beat. But he's still developing his ground game. Does not matter, though. I think he is going to knock out Luzon. I'm going to call it, we'll say, Guillard's going to either do it in the first or the second. The guy wastes no time, and if he really does let Luzon get into this fight, it will be in the later rounds. So first or second round, KO, TKO, doesn't matter. Melvin Guillard will find a way. The guy is absolutely devastating striker and continues to, put up a bid for a title shot. Guy should get it soon if he continues to win. That starts with this fight. Now, the 3 fights I did want to go into, and the first one I want to talk about Son and Stan. I want to talk about Aldo and Florian. I want to talk about Edgar and Maynard. So the first one I want to talk about is what I think is one of the cards, one of the fights that I'm most excited about is Sonnen versus Stan. There's a lot of backstory behind this, and it's a great fight. It's a clash of styles fight. You have a spectacular wrestler in Chael Sonnen, one of the best wrestlers in all of MMA. I will say that. And it's not just because I'm a fan of Sonnen. Sonnen is one of the best wrestlers. He will find a way to get to the ground. Versus Brian Stan, who is one of the top knockout artists in the middleweight division. The guy has deadly power. His striking is not only getting better, he's becoming more dynamic. He's learning how to use his knees. He's starting to use his elbows more. He's starting to become a very deadly striker, and he's only getting better every time he enters the cage. So what I wanted to talk about first is that I was expecting it to be trash talking from Sonnen. And when they first announced this card, it's funny. A couple days before it, me and my friend were talking about, who does Sonnen fight? He's done. He's allowed to come back to the UFC. His suspension is served. Who does he fight? And I go, man, the way it's looking right now, and I'm dead serious, this really did happen, is I go, I certainly hope he doesn't fight Brian Stan. I'm a big fan of Stan. I'm a big fan of Sonnen. Because it's tough to see one of these guys lose. I know people don't like Chael Sonnen, but I like the way the guy fights, and I get it that there's got to be bad guys in MMA who sell fights. Whether you believe it or not. That's just my take. But I was saying that I'm like, watch Sonnen and Stan fight. And when it happened, I called a friend. I was like, man, can you believe it? We actually kind of called it. He's like, yeah, but regardless of that story, it's going to be tough. Whoever wins this fight, both are good fighters. Both present challenges for Anderson Silva if that matchup happens. But the way I see this one going down, I've written an article on it on Couch Fighter. Brian Stan's a great striker. His grappling is getting better. But I see this one unfolding just like when he fought last at light heavyweight when he fought Phil Davis. He got absolutely owned wrestling-wise, and I think Sonnen is just as good as Phil Davis. Phil Davis is a little bit more technical. Sonnen, can slam you, and he does a little bit more ground and pound than Phil Davis. does. But I see this one unfolding just like that. Obviously, he's going to have to get Stan down to the ground. And he's going to have to watch out for the strikes and the knees. And, Brian Stan's a strong guy. But, Sonen's technique cannot be denied. I see Sonnen getting Stan down to the ground. He's never struggled getting anybody down to the ground, whether it's Yushin Okami, Nate Marquardt. He doesn't struggle. I mean, the fact that he tossed Okami around like a rag doll in their fight, and Okami's a great grappler. Sonnen's technique and his strength and his speed and athleticism is great. His takedown attempts, he is always or almost always successful. That's how good he is at that, and he's going to beat up Brian Stan. The one thing I am concerned about is I think when it comes down to prediction-wise, I think Sonnen's going to win this one by decision. He's going to edge out Brian Stan, and the only way I see Stan winning this one, and there's no real mystery to this one. Either Sonnen's never been completely knocked out cold before. He's been TKO'd and he's also lost due to cut. But it's either Stan connects with a major strike and knocks out Sonnen, or he somehow submits Sonnen off his back. We know that's possible, seeing it happens all the time in Sonnen's fights that he's lost. So I see this one. Sonnen wins by decision. If Stan wins, it's by knockout or submission. The one thing I'd have to say, though, with the backstory on this is that Sonnen can beat Brian Stan. Sonnen can beat Brian Stan, and obviously Sonnen can beat Anderson Silva, which I think. But I think Brian Stan could present a big challenge for Anderson Silva on his feet. Anderson Silva has a lot of power, but so does Brian Stan in a middleweight division where not everybody has that power. But the problem is that Brian Stan has to get through Sonnen, and I find that very difficult. I think Stan presents a lot of problems for Anderson Silva, but unfortunately he has to get through a wrestler that is Chael Sonnen. And if he does get past Sonnen, he's going to present a lot of problems for Anderson Silva, but I don't see it happening. So that's just the way I see it. And what the backstory behind this is that Dana White's come out and said that the winner of Sonnen Stan doesn't get a guaranteed title shot because he's banking on Dan Henderson to come in, which he's already done, to the UFC. I'm a big fan of Henderson, by the way. Come to the UFC, fight Shogun at light heavyweight, 205 pounds. If he wins, he drops down to fight Anderson Silva. I understand Dan Henderson had to prove himself and he needed to have a fight under his belt in the UFC before he got a title shot. Why don't you just bring him in to fight Anderson Silva? They were both free, but you're scheduling a guy at light heavyweight so he could drop down to middleweight. It makes no sense. And Sonnen and Stan are more than capable contenders to give Anderson Silva a run for his money. And that's not bashing Silva. I know he's the greatest pound-for-pound fighter in the world, but they're more than capable of doing so. And I think for Henderson to come down, if he beats Shogun, which I do think he is, why don't you just have him stay up at 205? That's a top contender fight in the light heavyweight division. Have him fight John Jones. That makes sense. Have him go fight John Jones if he wins. Have Sonnen and Stan fight Anderson Silva. Stick to the divisions. That's all I got to say about that. Obviously, it makes no sense for Henderson to drop down. He's at old age. He walks around at the 200s. To have him drop down to 185 makes no sense for a guy his age. That's what I want to say about that. The Jose Aldo and Florian fight, I don't think there's any mystery. I know people want Florian to win, and Florian's a great grappler. He has a reach advantage on Aldo, but I see it panning out just like this. I see Aldo kicking Florian's legs to oblivion with those devastating leg kicks. He's going to kick Florian's lead leg, and he's going to find a way to finish him on his feet. And I see it happening in the third or fourth round. Obviously, the later rounds that go, we start to question Aldo's conditioning. He showed that he was lacking in the Homnick fight, but there's a rumor. Not rumors that his weight cut didn't go as well. Hopefully, we'll see him with a better cardio, better conditioning in this fight. But the later rounds it goes, Aldo might be in trouble. The only way I see Florian even having a remotely close chance at this is if he gets Aldo to the ground. Florian has a big reach advantage. He's a long body. He can definitely submit Aldo on his back. We always hear Aldo is a great BJJ practitioner, but we haven't seen it. We saw it in on the Homnick fight. He wasn't doing anything off his back. He could barely stand at the end of. He was standing in the fight, but he was gassed. He was completely gassed at the end of the fight. I think if Florian has any success in this fight, it's getting Aldo on his back, which I don't see happening. He may get him on his back once, but I see Florian having a big hole in his stand-up game compared to Aldo, and I see this one ending in vicious fashion, completely. That's what I say. I'm going to say Aldo third round TKO on Kenny Florian. And in regards to this is that Kenny Florian comes out the other day and says that he could beat anybody at 145 or 155. And that's great. You have good confidence going into one of the biggest fights of your career. But, I mean, Kenny, have a little respect for the guys at 145, 155. Remember, you're the guy that dropped down from multiple weight divisions just to find your perfect fighter, to find your home. And I get that that happens. You try and find what's most comfortable for you, but you're dropping down because those divisions aren't working for you. Okay, so to come out and say that these guys were sticking out, gutting it out at 145 and 155, that you're better than them or you can beat anybody in that division, it's a little arrogant if you ask me. I know Kenny's a good guy. I think he's going to have a great career after he's done with MMA, or not MMA, just fighting. But, you know, have a little bit of respect for those guys. They haven't been dropping down to multiple divisions to see if they can beat the lighter guys. I know you're weighing the same as them, but you've dropped down from all these divisions. You know, and I wish you all the best against Aldo. But, you know, show a little respect for the guys. Confidence is high, that's good. But don't go after other guys in other divisions. Okay? Just remember that you've dropped down from weight divisions, and some haven't. Okay? Best of luck. Okay? I still think Aldo's going to beat you. It's going to be a great fight. Lastly, the Edgar and Maynard fight 3. Finally, we're going to get this. So I feel like I was watching this fight like 5 years ago. This is a tough one, I will say. You know, I'm still 100% confident in Frankie Edgar in this one. Frankie Edgar is speed kills in MMA. Frankie Edgar's speed cannot be denied. His boxing gets better every time. He shoots in and out of the pocket with quick combinations. His wrestling is sound. His speed makes him great. His technique is phenomenal. His grappling and his submissions are continuing to evolve. He's a very balanced fighter. He just doesn't have knockout power. And he's saying he's going to finish Gray Maynard in this fight, and I'd love to see it. Now, Gray Maynard has the power. Gray Maynard has sound wrestling. Gray Maynard can submit fighters if he needed to. You have pretty much a style of speed and technique versus power, and I'm going to say power for Maynard. Maynard's a very skilled fighter, but his power is a big advantage for him. His sound wrestling is a big advantage for him. But, man, the way I see this one panning out, I see Edgar taking this one to decision. Edgar's speed cannot be denied in this fight. He's going to find a way to shoot in and out of the pocket like he did in rounds 2 through 5 in their last fight. Is that Edgar's speed, his heart got him through that last fight. And the one thing I'll bring up is that, you know, when he won his belt, BJ Penn was like, oh, you know, Edgar's corner won him the fight for him, and, you know, it was just a fluke and all this other stuff. He didn't say it was a fluke. I'm just saying that's kind of the way it came off. Edgar came out a million times better. Once he is written off, for people don't think he's going to win. A lot of people think Gray Maynard's going to win, rightfully so. But when Edgar's written off and people think that he can't repeat and he lost his last fight, he comes out a million times better in the next fight. And that's a fact. If you look at his improvement from the first Penn fight to the second Penn fight, he was a completely different fighter. His boxing improved times 1,000. His wrestling improved. He was slamming Penn. BJ Penn couldn't even keep up with Edgar. He had no idea where the strikes were coming from. He gets better every time. And I thought Edgar looked good against Maynard. Okay, besides the first round where he got caught and he showed a lot of heart and resilience and resolve to get out of that and to come back and, you know, force a draw, which I still think he won. I'm not going to get into that now. I still think Edgar won 3 of the 5 rounds. But Edgar comes out better every time he's doubted. And I think, you know, with Gray saying that he won the fight earlier, he hasn't been doing as much, a lot of the trash talking, but Gray was so confident that he won that fight, and I think we're going to see a completely new and different Frankie Edgar, and that's hard to say, seeing he's been so talented. But I think he's going to come out, and he's going to show Gray that the last fight was a mistake. And you know what? Gray can most definitely connect with a big strike, and he could knock out Edgar. But I see Edgar, he prepares so well, and you know, Gray prepares well too. But Edgar can't be denied. His speed is going to keep him in and out of the pocket, and he's going to find a way to get this to decision. If he can finish Gray, which I find to be difficult, it's possible. So that's what I think. I'm going to go Edgar, I'm going to go Aldo, I'm going to go Sonnen, I'm going to go Gillard, and I'm going to go Nam Fan. Those are my picks for the main card. I hope where you're watching it this weekend, whether you're live in Houston or you're watching it in your TV, I hope you all enjoy this card. It's going to be exceptional, and I stress that. It's going to be a great card. I hope you have a great time with whoever you're watching it with, and enjoy. Okay, UFC 136 and 137, this is the best month of fights we will see. 136 and 137 are going to blow us out of the water, and I hope everybody has a great time. Thanks again to all the followers. Shout out to Couch Fighter. Sorry it took me so long to get another video. I've just been crazy. Have a great time this week, everybody. UFC 136 this Saturday. Kyle Delaney, sign off. I'm out of here.